Hey everybody, it's Atheist for the Cause here, and I wanted to talk about the polls a little bit. I'm going to try to get into the polls a little more often here, and show whether they're up or down, and a lot of time major events can swing them largely. So if we take a look at what came out between today and yesterday, really, the direction of the country, I've already mentioned, that is always really low, and because people are very pessimistic in general about politics, and it doesn't really mean much. Actually, plus 24 wrong track is as bad as it could be. Like, some of these are plus 35, and it gets huge. Like, look at all the plus 39 here. So, but the President Trump job approval is the most important of all of them. Oh, by the way, congressional job approval doesn't matter, really. I mean, it's always disapproved plus 50 because they don't really do anything. 2018 generic congressional vote means very little. It's kind of just like, are you a Democrat or a Republican, basically? Because if you're a Republican, you're going to want Republicans to win. If you're a Democrat, you're going to want Democrats to win. And it doesn't really look at any individuals. But if we're to look at the President Trump job approval rating, you have Quinnipiac is actually only disapproved plus 15, coming back to earth a little bit. Usually it's an extreme. And then you have USA Today is disapproved plus 11, Gallup disapproved plus 19, and Rasmussen reports disapproved plus 8. So kind of a big range, but these are good numbers, good solid numbers. The spread now is not minus 14.4, because they'll take all the most recent ones and say if CBS comes out with a new one, then this one cycles out and the new one goes in. Or if a poll gets too old, I think it's like a month or something like that, they'll cycle it out. And so it was Gallup and Rasmussen that just came out. So if we look down here and we find the Rasmussen reports, remember this was the second most accurate polling company in the presidential election. So they had Rasmussen reports. Here's the last one they did. They were minus 10. So they came back to minus 8. That's going in Trump's favor. So the trend is going correctly for Trump on that one. Now Gallup, it's minus 19. Sounds bad, right? Gallup here was minus 23. They had Trump's approval at only 36%. And now it's up to 38%, still low, but much closer to within reason, at least. So these numbers are, let's look at yesterday, US Today and Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac was negative 15. And it was negative 23. Moved 8 points. That's a huge swing. Now, this one was old. This is, from the end of May, early June. So now we're at the end of June. So part of it may be that Trump swung, just over time. And then part of it could be just a more favorable, margin. Being on the more favorable side of the margin this time. You put those two together and you get an 8-point swing. So then USA Today was the other one. So we'll look up that one. And they haven't done one in a while. So they're negative 11. And it's going to be so old, it's hard to compare. This was back in March, early March. And Trump was actually plus 3. So, yeah, you got to just throw that one out. But they added a minus 11, which is below the spread, so that's good. So within the last, 2 days, Thursday and Friday, the polls are definitely going in Trump's favor. And if you look, since June 13th, the disapprove has gone down drastically, and the approval rating has gone up pretty well. So Well, let's see where the trends are. It could go either way now. It looks like it might start leveling out here, or it could continue, and the approval rating might rise a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell at this point. I'm on max. Interestingly enough, if I do the last 30 days, it looks a little different. Last 14 days, when I do it like this, the approval rating definitely seems to have leveled out. Disapproval rating also, they do seem pretty level here. So, and that's the 7-day graph. So, all in all, it's looking good. We still have this negative 21 from CBS News. I doubt it'll come in that highly again, and negative 23 for Reuters. If we can get those two cycled out, and even these two negative 15s, remember the two negative 15s also are above the spread. So these four are the next four to cycle out, and they're also all above the spread. So that means the spread is likely to go down. But we'll see. You never know with polls. So. Anyways, have a good one, guys, and it's looking good for Trump. He's actually there. I might do a video on this article that was on Real Clear Politics, where it's this one: White House courting key states ahead of election. I guess I'll open it here. Basically, what this article is saying is that he got together with some of these White House heads, or some of these chair heads and GOP chair heads from Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Also, Florida, Nevada, Wisconsin. These are states that are swing states largely, and basically, moral of the story is that they're extremely happy with Trump and how he's interacting and how he's offering help. And there's also they're also just telling them, keep doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is working. That's what they're all saying. Now, down here, interestingly enough, they are actually powerhouses in raising money. And the Republicans, I predict, are going to have a monster amount of money, because they talk in this article about how it's going to be hard with the networking that Trump has effectively done now that he's been in office and he's been, connecting with people well. It's going to be extremely hard for any GOP primary to happen because Trump's just going to be too favorable, and you usually don't run against incumbents anyway. So it'd be a bit of a joke to run a Republican primary. So they're going to raise all this money, and in their fundraising, they are raising tons of money. Senator Ted Cruz raised $500,000 in Dallas at one event. Trump Jr. raised $400,000 for the Indiana GOP. Trump Jr., that's just his son. The fact that even his children can go out and raise money like this, and other Republicans can raise money like this, these are big time numbers. So I think that the Republicans will be extremely set for the general elections, and Trump's already stated he wants to run again in 2020. They also claim that here. So another interesting thing, look at the names of the swing states that are being declared. So New Hampshire was lost, but only by like a point, or no, a couple percent, couple tenths of a percentage point, like 0.3. Michigan was barely won. North Carolina was won. Ohio was won. Pennsylvania was barely won. But Pennsylvania is going to be hard to hold on to. So you're going to have to put a lot of money and time into there to hold it. It's a great gain, though. If you lose it, you can still win the presidency, though. Iowa could be hard to hold. It's not worth as many, but it is a very toss-up state. Now, Colorado, if Trump didn't put actually that much time into Colorado, if he had put more time into it, he got it relatively close. And I would have liked to, it's going to be really interesting because he also lost Nevada. So he's got his eyes on these states. Now, what Hillary Clinton did is ran on a third term of Barack Obama, and she tried to play defense. And so every state Trump picked up was huge because she wasn't going for any extra states, really. Like, they were talking about Texas and Georgia. They were just... I think what they were actually trying to do, honestly, was bait Trump into going to Georgia and Texas and waste time and money. But he didn't take the bait. And so now if, whoever the Democrat is tries to go in and steal one of these states, and they effectively do it, say they take Pennsylvania back, well, Trump might get, maybe that allows Trump to get Nevada. And there's a lot of evidence Trump could take Nevada because he lost that by 2 percentage points, which is a very close race, and he didn't have a ground game at all. Nevada is one of the most ground game intensive states. So the fact that he came within 2 points is crazy because there's a ton of early voting, like 75% of the state or something like that votes early. And if you don't get that ground game going, which Trump didn't get it going early enough, there's going to be too big of a spread, and they're not going to be able to make it up on election day. But the way Trump is effectively building a ground game this time around, and how close it already was, there's a lot of evidence Trump can take Nevada. Even though there's like a lot of the Hispanics in Nevada win for Trump, because he's got a lot of connections there, and Trump actually does, at least on average, and quite decently well for a Republican with Hispanics. So, and there still are a lot of, white people and, rich investor type people and even your middle class people that benefit from Trump's investments in Nevada that really appreciate Trump there. So in the last election, we saw where Trump had investments, Trump did very well. I mean, outside of New York, but that's New York. So, and then Colorado, he lost by 3 percentage points. He didn't go there till late. And I think the one thing is he hasn't done much to be anti-marijuana. If you take Colorado, I think you have to be friendly to marijuana. So we'll see. Sessions hasn't cracked down yet. If he does, I think that'll ruin his chances. And if I was Trump, I would not do anything with marijuana. If you want to do a war on drugs or something like that and really ramp it up, I think you have to do it in your second term. But I don't think he really I don't know. I don't get the sense that he's too worried about drugs with the average people. He's worried about drugs with gangs. So, and he said he wants to leave it up to the states. I think that's reasonable. So that's, there you have it. These are the states Trump's likely to look at keeping and actually attacking. And I really like the idea that he's going to continue to attack. So those states, again, Colorado, he lost. Iowa, he was a close victory. Michigan, close victory. New Hampshire, close loss. North Carolina, close victory. I'm going off of memory, but I'm pretty sure I have these right. Ohio, solid victory. Pennsylvania, close victory, but hard to hold on to. And Florida, close victory. I shouldn't say hard to hold on to, but a true toss-up. Nevada, close loss, but lots of potential to steal. And Wisconsin, close victory, could easily be stolen. So Now remember, he had quite a margin. He had over 300, and he had something like 305 electoral votes. So if he could lose Pennsylvania and another state and still win the election, even if he picked up no extra states. So I think right now things are looking very promising. He's gotten so much done that there's a good chance he gets reelected in 2020. And the news has done nothing but lie. The news is gonna have no credibility come 2020. So, anyways, have a great day, guys.